It's never nice when a project doesn't turn out the way that you expect it to, whether the target audience didn't resonate with the subject material, or if you simply got so blackout drunk that you missed the premiere and ended up in a truck stop bathroom crying into a discount prawn salad which you swear will give you food poisoning through touch alone. It can be hard to take defeat with poise and grace. There's no universal method of picking yourself back up and carrying on, but there is pretty much one thing that is guaranteed that you should never ever do, and that is blame other people and try to take them down with you. But the filmmakers on this list, well, they weren't ones to adhere to this rule and have gone on record to blame talent for their lack of success within their movies. So let's take a look at some stars who apparently caused stinkers. As I'm Jules, this is Whatculture.com, and these are 10 filmmakers who blamed actors for failed movies. Number 10. Roland Emmerich blamed Will Smith for making Suicide Squad instead. Independence Day resurgence. Expectations weren't exactly high in the lead up to Independence Day Resurgence's release. I mean, after all, it was a belated 20 years later sequel without the original's charismatic star Will Smith, so how good could it realistically be? And so, like clockwork, critics and fans of the original alike roundly panned Resurgent, which, beyond a few inspired moments of destruction and some pithy Jeff Goldblum quips, came and went with little fanfare, grossing less than $400 million worldwide. Oof. Emmerich chimed in on what went down and roundly laid the blame at Will Smith's feet, who suddenly quit the film to make Suicide Squad instead. Emmerich said, "I just wanted to make a movie exactly like the first, but then in the middle of production, Will opted out because he wanted to do Suicide Squad. I should have stopped making the movie because we had a much better script. After, I had to really fast cobble together another script, and I should have just said no, because all of a sudden I was making something I criticized myself, a sequel." Now granted, Smith's presence would have immediately elevated things, but you have to remember, even an actor can't save a film from a bad script. Number 9. Kevin Smith blamed grumpy Bruce Willis. Cop-Out. Buddy movie Cop-Out remains the single movie in Kevin Smith's filmography that he didn't write as well as direct. And you know what? It really shows. This is Smith in a rather disheartening hack-for-hire mode, and when the film was widely panned by critics, he misguidedly compared the critical response to bullying a child with learning difficulties. Although he didn't use the term learning difficulties. Yeah. But sometime later, Smith opened up further about what went wrong with Cop-Out and directed most of his ire towards star Bruce Willis, calling the experience of working with him soul-crushing. He added, "Oh, you're just trying to blame the movie on him." No, but I had no help from this dude whatsoever. If reports are to be believed, Smith also said at the movie's wrap party, "I want to thank everyone who worked on the film except for Bruce Willis, who is a dick." Furthermore, Smith complained about Willis's refusal to sit for promotional photos and basically doing as little as possible to support the movie during the press rounds. Number 8. Kevin Reynolds blamed Kevin Costner's ego, Waterworld. Despite a, pun incoming, tidal wave of hype, Waterworld opened to mixed reviews and a paltry $264.2 million worldwide box office. Now bear in mind, the film cost $175 million to make. Though star Kevin Costner's regular collaborator Kevin Reynolds received a full directing credit, it's no secret that Costner took over the latter stages of production after Reynolds left, having become infuriated by Costner's intrusive input in almost every scene. Now, given that much of the same circumstances unfolded during shooting on Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves a few years prior, it's actually surprising that both men actually agreed to reunite for another time around. Hilariously, Reynolds later said of his experience on Waterworld that in the future, Costner should only appear in pictures that he directs himself. That way he can always be working with his favourite actor and favourite director. Ouch. Clearly, Costner didn't hold it against him, though, as the pair re-teamed in 2012 for the TV miniseries Hatfields and McCoys, which won Costner an Outstanding Lead Actor Emmy, while Reynolds was nominated for Outstanding Directing. Number 7. Jerry Lewis blamed himself. The Day the Clown Cried. The Day the Clown Cried is one of the most infamous and sought-after unreleased films in cinema history, a 1972 Holocaust drama written, directed by and starring Jerry Lewis, who plays a circus clown imprisoned at a Nazi concentration camp and acts as a kind of Pied Piper type figure to lure children into the gas chambers. It is unsettlingly dark. Lewis took the project extremely seriously. touring real-life concentration camps and losing £35 for the part. And though shooting was completed, the film was never released due to issues securing the rights from the creator of the original story, Joan O'Brien. In the decades that followed, Lewis abandoned his attempts to get the film released and ultimately vowed that it would never be screened in his lifetime. He said of his own efforts as a writer, director and actor, "I am embarrassed at the poor work." I mean, talk about falling on your own sword. Though fans still hope that a copy of the film may one day be screened to the public, a near half-century later, it remains one of Hollywood's most fascinating failures. Number 6. Jos Weeden blamed the cast for saying the lines wrong. Alien Resurrection. After Alien 3 categorically killed off Ellen Ripley, it was only natural that the fourth film, which brings Ripley back through cloning, would prove divisive with fans. And indeed, Alien Resurrection opened to mixed reviews and a disappointing box office, with fans largely accepting it to be one of the weakest entries into the entire Alien franchise. Years later, screenwriter Jos Weeden spoke about his misgivings with the final film, saying that they said the lines mostly, but they said them all wrong, and they cast it wrong, and they designed it wrong, and then they scored it wrong. They did everything wrong that they could possibly do. As surprising as it is to hear a blockbuster writer not complain about their script being endlessly tinkered with during production, it's actually tough to imagine that even this perfect ensemble cast making some of his creaky dialogue work. It definitely wasn't Whedon's finest work as a writer. Number 5. Paul Schrader blamed Lindsay Lohan's unpredictable behaviour, The Canyons. Now, don't feel bad if you haven't heard of this 2013 drama, which was mounted as a comeback piece for not only star Lindsay Lohan, but also legendary screenwriter Paul Schrader. The erotic thriller was largely panned for its underwhelming writing and direction, though Lohan did receive some scattered praise, and the film's mere $250,000 budget prevented it from being a catastrophic bust. Nevertheless, in the wake of the film's release, Schrader blamed Lohan for no-showing promotional appearances and refusing to meet with journalists, and added that he wanted to fire her for unreliability during production. Lohan's thermonuclear reputation ensured that she hasn't starred in a single notable movie since, while Schrader went on to revitalise his career with 2017's brilliant drama First Reformed, for which he received his first ever Oscar nomination for Best Original Screenplay. And also, side note, the film actually also contained porn star James Dean, which must have been sad for your mum not to get a call back considering all the work that she's done in the industry by laying on hers. So you know what? Right now, we're going to raise a glass to your mum and celebrate her now. Cheers. And also, that is my one per list. Number 4. Paul Kaye blamed a narcissistic Edward Norton, American History X. This is an especially interesting case of air quotes failure because for most intents and purposes, 1998 crime drama American History X was a success, scoring strong critical acclaim and earning Edward Norton a Best Actor Oscar nomination, despite a fairly tepid box office. Yet, director Tony Kaye was extremely dissatisfied with the film's theatrical release, as New Line Cinema requested extensive re-edits and ultimately released a version co-edited by Norton himself. Kaye unsuccessfully attempted to have his name removed from the movie and even spent $100,000 of his own money taking out dozens of full-page ads in trade newspapers disparaging Norton and producer John Morrissey. Kaye publicly called Norton narcissistic and accused him of butchering his film in the editing room. And the grand irony, of course, is that Norton's performance is by far the most praised aspect of the film, and his career skyrocketed as a result, while Kaye's difficult rep has seen him struggle to secure major work ever since. Number 3, John Schlesinger blamed Madonna's diva-like behaviour the next best thing. Like most rom-coms starring musicians turned actors, 2000's The Next Best Thing is a deeply terrible film. Terrible enough that it actually scooped Madge the Worst Actress Razzie Award, which was actually her 4th of 5 wins in the category, while also being nominated for Worst Picture, Worst Screenplay and Worst Screen Couple. And the box office, well, it wasn't much kinder either. The film, following the bitter custody battle between a straight woman and a gay man who have a child together, was helmed by legendary Oscar-winning filmmaker John Schlesinger. Schlesinger clashed with his leading lady throughout production, claiming that Madonna attempted to influence every aspect of the film, even requesting visual effects to make her look more beautiful. Furthermore, Schlesinger didn't merely blame Madonna for derailing the movie itself, but also exacerbating his own health issues. Shortly after shooting was completed, Schlesinger collapsed at his home and was diagnosed with heart failure. He said in a letter to his agent released after his 2003 death, "I do not for one moment think that Madonna's behavior has not added to the reasons I have ended up here." Yikes. Number 2, Ron Hutchinson blamed Marlon Brando's laziness, The Island of Dr. Moreau. 1996's The Island of Dr. Moreau is one of the most infamously troubled movie productions of the 20th century, a powder keg of egos which saw young filmmaker Richard Stanley attempting to juggle the dueling attitudes of Marlon Brando and Val Kilmer. Stanley was fired after 3 days of shooting, with veteran filmmaker John Frankenheimer then brought in on board to finish the film, which he did while completely clashing with Kilmer. The final product was a critical and commercial dud, and the best thing that anyone got out of it was the rather fascinating documentary about the film's hellish conception, Lost Soul, the doomed journey of Richard Stanley's Island of Dr. Moreau. And while Val Kilmer tends to catch the lion's share of flack given his well-noted rep for being difficult, Dr. Moreau's screenwriter Ron Hutchinson insists that a tyrannical Brando was actually more to blame. In a recent interview, Hutchinson called the Hollywood legend a monster who was hell-bent on sabotaging the production, refusing to read Hutchinson's written word and opting for improv instead, while routinely locking himself in his trailer and gorging on pizza. Hutchinson, who spent much of the film's shoot on set, called it an awful experience, and you can understand why, as spending months watching your toiled-over script be butchered during production must be pretty much the most hellish scenario that a working writer can imagine. And number 1, Otto Pinja blamed Marilyn Monroe's performance, River of No Return. River of No Return was a 1954 Western vehicle for Marilyn Monroe, as helmed by Oscar-nominated filmmaker Otto Pinja. Though Pinja initially approved of Monroe's casting in the female lead role of Kay Weston, he almost immediately clashed with the actress on set due to the insistence that her acting coach be present at all times. This resulted in the coach giving contradictory acting advice to Monroe counter to Pinja, and when the director tried to get the acting coach banished from the set, Monroe told producers she wouldn't be able to complete the film without the coach's help. Pinja took his frustrations out on Monroe for the rest of the shoot, while also having to contend with her sprained ankle and perennially drunk male lead Robert Mitchum, who also acted as a referee between Monroe and Pinja. Pinja often criticized Monroe to the press in the years following the film's release, claiming that she had no natural acting talent and was simply a star. And as for the film itself, well, it received indifferent reviews and didn't make much of a dent in the box office. In 1980, a few short years before his death, however, Pinja was a little more charitable towards Monroe, saying, "She tried very hard, and when people try, you can't be mad at them."